Cold wind blew hard through the streets of New York City. Snow kept falling, covering the sidewalks and making everything quiet. Under a flickering streetlight, a man named Henry stood at a lonely bus stop. His jacket was old and thin. In his hands, he held a worn-out folder with 5 resumes, each one had been rejected. Henry was 46 years old, once a construction engineer, now homeless. His wife had died of cancer, and his son, Noah, had been taken into foster care. Henry had nothing left, no job, no home, just the old truck he slept in behind a warehouse. As he stood there shivering, he saw someone walking through the snow. It was a woman, around 30, wearing a business skirt and high heels. She had no coat, and her wet hair stuck to her cold face. She stopped near him under the same bus stop. Her hands shook as she tried to warm them. Henry tried not to stare. She looked clean and confident, but she was clearly freezing. He looked away. Just another night. Just another stranger. But when the wind howled again, she flinched. That's when Henry made a decision. He took off his jacket and stepped toward her. "You don't have to do that," she said, surprised. Henry gave a small, tired smile. "I've already lost enough today. This coat, it's all I have left to give." She hesitated, but he gently placed it around her shoulders. "Not tonight," he said. She pulled it tight around her. The jacket was thin, but somehow warm. It smelled like old soap, and maybe coffee. Something about it felt safe. "Thank you," she whispered. They stood quietly for a while. Snow fell around them, soft and slow. "What's your name?" she asked. "Henry." "I'm Claire," she said. "Nice to meet you, Claire." She looked at him carefully. "You shouldn't have given me your jacket." "Probably not," Henry said with a faint smile. "But I couldn't let you freeze." The bus finally arrived. Claire walked toward it, then turned back. "Do you have somewhere to go?" Henry shrugged. "Somewhere," he said. But he didn't mention it was the back seat of an old Chevy truck. She reached into her purse and handed him a card. "In case you ever need anything." Henry took it and tucked it into his folder, not even looking. People said things like that all the time. He didn't expect her to mean it. Claire boarded the bus and gave one last glance before the doors closed. The coat still wrapped around her. Henry stood alone again as the snow fell harder. But he wasn't just shivering from the cold, something deeper stirred in him. Something quiet, something hopeful. He looked up at the sky, then down the empty street. "Maybe tomorrow," he whispered. And then he turned and slowly walked into the night. Claire stepped into her apartment building. Warm air hit her face as the door closed behind her. The doorman greeted her politely, but she barely noticed. Her heels clicked softly on the marble floor as she walked to the elevator, still wearing Henry's old jacket. Inside her luxury penthouse, everything was silent. No music. No voices. Just the quiet hum of expensive machines. Claire dropped her purse, took off her heels, and reached for the jacket to put it away. But just as she folded it, she felt something inside the pocket. Curious, she reached in. It was a folded piece of paper, old and soft at the edges. She carefully opened it. It was a child's crayon drawing. 2 stick figures stood under a crooked sun, holding hands. One was labeled Dad, the other Me. A small red heart floated between them. At the bottom, in uneven handwriting, were the words, "I love you Daddy, Noah." Claire froze. Her throat tightened. Her eyes blurred. This wasn't just a jacket. It belonged to a father, one who carried his son's love in his coat pocket, even while he had nothing else. She sat on the edge of her couch, holding the drawing with one hand and the jacket with the other. The apartment around her, high ceilings, designer furniture, glass walls, felt cold, empty. Tears welled up. She hadn't cried in years. Not since she was a little girl, cold and hungry, sitting on the steps of a church, hoping someone would notice her. And someone had. She remembered now. A man with kind eyes and a weathered face had taken off his coat and wrapped it around her. He didn't say much. Just smiled and told her. "You'll be okay." She never saw him again. But that moment stayed with her. That coat, that warmth, that kindness, it saved her. And now, all these years later, another stranger had done the same thing. Her heart ached. She had spent her whole life trying to forget where she came from. Foster homes. Hunger. Loneliness. But she had worked hard, built herself up, step by step. College scholarships. Long nights. Sleepless years. And finally, she created Infinity Group, one of the most powerful tech companies on the East Coast. She had everything now. Except warmth. Except that feeling. This coat, Henry's coat, brought it all back. She looked at the drawing again. The little heart between Dad and me. And she hugged. The next morning, Claire sat at her desk, the city skyline stretching beyond her office window. But her eyes weren't on the view. They were fixed on the crumpled drawing in her hand, the one she found in Henry's coat. She had barely slept. She kept thinking about that man at the bus stop. About the jacket, the drawing, the quiet pain in his voice. It wouldn't leave her mind. Claire reached into her drawer and pressed the small silver bell on her desk. Moments later, her assistant, Rachel, walked in. "Yes, Miss Langston." Claire took a breath. "I need you to help me find someone." Rachel blinked. "Who?" Claire hesitated, then said. "His name is Henry. I don't know his last name. He was at the 56th and Madison bus stop last night around 8:30. He gave me his coat. I want to find him." Rachel looked surprised, but nodded. "I'll see what I can do." Claire added, "And Rachel, this stays between us." The search began quietly but quickly. Claire's team, usually busy tracking down top developers or big-name executives, was now using their skills to find a man with no phone, no address, and no job. They pulled traffic camera footage from nearby streets. In one blurry clip, they spotted Henry's figure, hunched, wearing the same jacket he gave away. They cross-referenced bus routes, narrowed down riders, checked surveillance from subway stations. Still, there were no records, no database hits. He didn't appear in corporate systems, didn't have a recent job, and hadn't left a digital footprint. Days passed. Finally, Rachel returned with a folder in her hands. "We found him," she said. Claire looked up, eyes sharp. "His name is Henry Miles. He was a structural engineer. No recent employment. He posted a few times on job forums looking for work. His contact number belongs to a prepaid phone. No permanent address." Rachel paused, then added. "One of our guys saw him yesterday, in the South Bronx, behind a warehouse. He's been sleeping in an old pickup truck. That's likely where he lives." Claire took the folder and flipped through it. A faded driver's license. An old LinkedIn profile. No arrest records. No scandals. Just silence. Just disappearance. Claire stood up. "I want to go there." Rachel hesitated. "Are you sure? We could send someone to talk to him, or bring him here." Claire shook her head. "No. This isn't a meeting. It's personal." An hour later, a black car drove Claire far from glass towers and polished boardrooms. They passed old buildings, graffiti-covered walls, and forgotten streets. Finally, the car pulled up near a warehouse. Snow had gathered around an old rusty truck, tucked away in the shadows. Claire stepped out. The cold bit her cheeks, but she walked forward. Through the windshield, she could see a figure. As she got closer, the truck door creaked open. Henry stepped out. He blinked, surprised, his eyes adjusting to the daylight. Then he recognized her. "Claire," he said, voice rough and unsure. She offered a small smile. "Hi, Henry." Henry stood outside his old truck, snow crunching under his worn boots. His clothes were wrinkled, his hands in his pockets. He looked at Claire with surprise and confusion. "What are you doing here?" he asked quietly. Claire looked at him, then at the truck behind him. "I came to find you," she said. Henry frowned. "Why?" She hesitated for a moment, then said. "Because I couldn't stop thinking about what you did. About the kind of man who gives his only coat to a stranger in the cold." Henry let out a soft, bitter laugh. "You didn't have to come all this way. A thank you card would have been enough." Claire shook her head. "This isn't about thanks. It's about something more." For a moment, they stood silently, two very different people, brought together by one act of kindness. "You came all this way just to say that?" Henry asked. Claire nodded. "Yes, and maybe to offer you something." Henry looked confused. "Offer me what?" Claire smiled gently. "A job." Henry blinked. "What kind of job?" "Not a normal one," she replied. "It's a new role I created. Something my company has never had before. A position for someone who understands people, someone who knows what it's like to struggle and still be kind." Henry looked down at his hands. They were rough, calloused. "Claire, I don't have a fancy degree. I haven't had a real job in years. I sleep in a truck." "You were an engineer," Claire said. "I haven't built anything in a long time." Claire stepped closer. "You built something that night. You built a moment I'll never forget." Henry looked away, unsure. "I'm not qualified." Claire didn't back down. "You don't need to be. This isn't about titles. It's about heart. I want you to help us build something deeper at Infinity Group: kindness, empathy, values. Things that can't be taught in a textbook." Henry swallowed hard. The offer sounded too good. Too impossible. "This feels like charity," he whispered. Claire shook her head. "It's not. You gave me something without expecting anything in return. That coat, that moment, it reminded me who I used to be. I don't need charity, Henry. I need someone real." He didn't speak. Fear sat heavy in his chest. He'd lost too much before. He didn't want to hope again. But Claire looked him in the eyes and said, "You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. Just show up. Be who you already are." Henry looked down at the snow, then back at her. His voice was low. "Why me?" "Because," she said softly, "you changed something in me. And I believe, you can change something in others too." The wind was cold. The sky was gray. But in that moment, Henry felt something stir deep inside: hope. Quiet. Scary. Real. He didn't say yes. Not yet. But he didn't say no either. Henry sat on a bench outside the tall glass building. The job offer from Claire rested in his lap, still unopened. He traced the edge of the folder with his fingers, but his mind was full of doubt. "This can't be real," he whispered to himself. He didn't belong in a place like Infinity Group. He had no suit, no degree, no office experience. Just a past full of pain, and a truck full of memories. He almost got up to leave when he heard footsteps behind him. It was Claire. She sat beside him quietly, not saying anything at first. "You haven't opened it," she said gently. Henry gave a dry chuckle. "I already know what's in it. A life that isn't meant for someone like me." Claire looked at him. You think I offered this out of pity? I think, Henry paused. I think your world isn't built for people like me. Claire stood up and held out her hand. Come with me. Just for an hour. No suits. No office. Trust me. Henry hesitated, then stood. They drove for about 30 minutes, away from the tall buildings, away from polished streets, into a quieter part of the city. The car stopped in front of a small, red brick building. A green awning above the door read, Thomas's Place, a safe space for every child. Inside, the walls were full of painted handprints, colorful drawings, and quotes about kindness. The air smelled like crayons and fresh bread. Laughter echoed down the halls. Claire led him into a room where children played with second-hand toys and volunteers read books aloud. This place, she said softly, was named after the man who saved me. She told him about that night, when she was 12, cold, scared, and sitting on church steps. A stranger had wrapped his coat around her shoulders and simply said, You'll be okay. I never saw him again, she continued. But that one act changed my entire life. So, I built this place in his honor. She looked at Henry. And last week, someone else gave me a coat. Didn't ask who I was. Didn't expect anything in return. Just gave. Henry's eyes started to shine. You remind me of him, Claire said. Not because of the coat, but because of your heart. Henry stood in silence, watching the kids laugh, the volunteers care, the joy that filled the air. He hadn't felt this kind of warmth in years. I don't need you in a boardroom, Claire said. I need you to remind people what it means to care. Henry looked down, tears in his eyes. And then, he nodded. Not for the job title. Not for the money. But because for the first time in years, he felt needed. Henry's life had taken a new turn. With Claire's help, he bought a new house. This house was not just bricks and walls, but a symbol of a fresh start for Henry. When Noah moved back in, Henry felt a wave of happiness. His small family was together again. Noah's return did more than fill the house, it filled Henry's heart. The old distance between the brothers began to fade. Henry understood his responsibilities and started strengthening his relationships. Claire also began spending more time with Henry. The gap between them slowly closed. Henry and Claire's friendship was turning into love. They began to understand each other's pain and joys deeply. Claire's courage and Henry's passion gave both a new hope. Henry started listening to his heart and decided to move his life toward a better future. One day, Henry met a young man who was struggling with life. The young man was thinking about suicide and was tired of living. Henry listened to him, felt his pain, and told him that life is precious. He shared his own story of struggle and how he changed his life around. Tears filled the young man's eyes, but now he saw a light of hope. Henry encouraged him never to give up. He told him that life is not only about darkness but also about new beginnings and light. With Henry's help, the young man began to live again. Claire felt proud watching this. She realized that Henry was no longer living just for himself, but had become an inspiration to others. People around Henry were changing too. They began to listen to him and understand his words. Henry's influence was not limited to his own life but had become a light in others' lives. His help and wisdom built a new world around him. The bond between Claire and Henry grew deeper. They shared their dreams and pains with each other. Claire's courage and Henry's hard work made them an inspiring couple. The bond between Claire and Henry grew deeper. They shared their dreams and pains with each other. Claire's courage and Henry's hard work made them an inspiring couple. Henry learned that true success is not in money or fame but in building strong relationships and helping others. His heart had grown bigger, and he kept working to make the world a better place. Noah was happy to see Henry's new self. He also helped his brother, and both were leaving the past behind for a fresh start. In this way, Henry's life was filled with new light. He turned his pain into strength and became a guiding light for others. His purpose and impact were clear for everyone to see. And Claire, the greatest courage in Henry's journey, was always by his side. Together, they chose new paths in life and took their story to a beautiful ending. It was a special day at the company, One Kindness Day. This day was not just a regular event, but a celebration of kindness and helping others. The goal was to bring a little kindness and understanding to everyone's life. And this year, the day was especially important for Henry. Claire organized a ceremony to honor Henry in front of the whole company. All the employees, managers, and staff gathered in one place. Claire spoke openly about Henry's hard work and the kindness in his heart. Everyone clapped, praising Henry's courage and effort. The most special moment was when Claire gifted Henry the deed to a house. This house, bought with Claire's help, was now officially Henry's. The deed was not just a piece of paper, it was a message of a new life and a fresh start. Henry's eyes filled with tears, but they were tears of happiness. On the same day, Claire gave Henry a small surprise. She had hidden a beautiful engagement ring inside the pocket of her coat. Henry didn't know what Claire was planning. When everyone's eyes were on Henry, Claire gave a small signal. Henry opened the coat pocket and took out the ring. All eyes were on him. He knelt down and expressed his feelings, asking Claire to marry him. Claire's eyes sparkled with joy, and she said yes. This moment was very special for everyone. The company members congratulated them warmly. Their relationship showed everyone how a small act of kindness and love can change a life. The wedding took place at the community center, where Henry had first understood his pain and found a new path. Now, that same place was the start of a new life for both of them. The joy, love, and friendship at the wedding made the day unforgettable. People said Henry and Claire's story was not just theirs but an example for all, showing how a little kindness can make a big difference. And the coat, Claire's gift to Henry, where he had hidden his feelings, became a symbol. It was no longer just a piece of clothing but a sign of courage and kindness that changed a man's life. The company adopted the coat as a symbol too, showing how a small act of kindness can bring light to someone's life. Every year on One Kindness Day, the coat was displayed so everyone could remember the power of kindness. Henry and Claire were no longer just partners but people who taught everyone that with love, courage, and kindness, anything is possible. Their story, their bond, and the coat together became a legacy, that no act of kindness is ever too small, because it can change lives and leave a lasting impact. What do you think about Henry and Claire's journey? Can one small act of kindness really change a life? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story moved you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more heartwarming content. Hit the notification bell to stay updated. And share this video with friends to spread the message of kindness and love.